Hello everyone, here is Anna, and today I have here a very special guest, a friend of mine, Rosalía Gómez Lasheras, who is an amazing musician, a pianist and a forte pianist. I will leave all the information about her in the link down below, so please feel free to check her recordings and to join maybe her on some projects that she's doing. So I'm very happy to have you here today. It's a big pleasure
to have you here.
and a big honor to have you here. Thank you for doing this with me. And we have today a very different and very special topic to discuss, and it's women in classical music. And we just wanted to share some experiences. How is it to be a young woman in this business? And when I asked you, like, if you can do this video with me, you agreed immediately, like, we haven't even discussed anything, so why? And why do you think it's an important topic to talk about?
I think it's something which belongs to daily life for us. Things that happen every day, either small details or more problematic situations that are a part of a woman's life, especially in classical music, but really in all professions. And unfortunately it's so common that we end up thinking these situations are normal, and many women, including myself and for sure, and probably you, we don't speak up enough. That's my feeling.
Yes, exactly.
So people don't talk about these issues enough, and they become normal and they will remain looking normal. And I found it a great chance to maybe just discuss some things that actually happen.
To speak up. So maybe let's just start talking a little bit about the history of women in classical music. The first orchestra in the world to ever hire women musicians was the Queen's Hall Orchestra in London in 1913. Only in 1936, Nadia Boulanger conducted a concert with the London Philharmonic, the first woman to do so. Women were non-existent in most major symphony orchestras up until the 1960s. The Vienna Philharmonic did not accept female musicians to permanent membership until 1997. So these days we live in 2020, when the situation is of course much more different. But let's talk more detailed about that. So maybe you can tell, if you want, a little bit, how did you grow up? Were you always supported in this profession by the society when you were a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I think your family situation, your environment really plays a huge role, and I was lucky enough to have a very open-minded education, I would say. My mom is a very strong feminist, which kind of defines me as a person. And maybe also the steps I chose in music life were a bit influenced by that, in a good way, I mean. So, in spite of this, of course there are everywhere stereotypes, everywhere. You live with them, and even if my parents tried to raise me in a slightly different way, I remember so many incidents of people reminding me what it is to be a girl.
Well, I'm Russian. I grew up in Russia, and I should say we always had in Russia this picture that a woman can work and she's able to have education, but only after she's finished with her homework, which a man is not obliged to do. So it means that women still have like less chances and less time, you know?
Double work, as
yes,
usual.
Exactly. It's basically means double work. And when we talk about classical music, this, I mean, of course it influences also like your career if you want to do it in classical music. As a kid, I heard so many sexistic comments on music education, on my playing. Like, I will just give a few examples. Like, there are small things, but small things make a big picture, you know. And like, for example, of course, I was very often told that I'm playing as a girl, not in a positive way. And then, for example, you know, we have like this whole system of music schools in Russia, yeah, like a proper music education for kids. I would say around 90 to 95% of kids in the music schools are girls, so 5 to 10% are boys. But what I was always told since I was a kid, that those 5 to 10% of boys, they will have much more chances in becoming, let's say, musicians, in general, like professional musicians.
You were told.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, it's completely true, but it's funny that they acknowledge it.
Yes, and like I always heard that in a literal way, that girls are not good enough to become concert pianists and like soloists in general, I would say, especially. Every girl who studies music in Russia hears very often, like before the performance, "Oh, you look so beautiful that you don't even need to play." Like, this is so common, and this is taken like as a compliment, Like, nobody thinks this is like something wrong with that. I remember this situation when I was around 15. I studied in a music college, and we were with this very nice woman she was not my teacher, but we had good relationships, and like we trusted her, like we appreciated her opinions. And I remember we were just like sitting and having tea and a conversation, and she told us that only women who are like very unhappy and unlucky in their private life have a chance to become a concert pianist. I always had a feeling that this is so wrong on many levels, like inside of me. But the thing is that not everybody had this feeling. And like there were so many girls who, I'm sure, thought, okay, this is right, like she's an experienced musician, and I should listen to her, and I should like remember this. So obviously nobody wants to be unlucky and unhappy in their private life.
I do. This is if that makes me feel.
This is a very unnatural thing, but just imagine like you have all this information since
when you're a kid, you're a sponge. So
yes, exactly.
That is the only truth you receive. So you're gonna grow up believing this.
And I should also say that it's very normal that mostly male professors, but sometimes even women professors in music universities in Russia tell you that you are just a girl and it's not appropriate to play like specific pieces. Well, obviously like powerful pieces. You didn't have a good performance because you're just a girl and you are playing like a girl. If I just try to maybe generalize it a little bit, I think the picture what we have in Russia is like women are for teaching and men are for performing in classical music. But I should say that if you want to teach in Russia as a woman, you will be always supported, even like becoming a professor, which is not always the case where I live at the moment. But we will talk a bit later about that.
Yeah, actually it is maybe interesting to mention that this has always happened, especially in piano playing, that it was traditionally, historically, an instrument for girls.
Yes.
Because there were very strict gender roles ascribed to different instruments, and like violin was a very manly instrument because of the sword and the standing position, and piano was for keyboards, harpsichords and earlier things too, were for girls, mostly. And it was a tradition that the girls, daughters of rich people would learn this instrument, but never to a professional level or with a professional goal. So that's exactly the case. It's like we are trained, and there are so many girls learning piano everywhere. But as in any profession, making it really high is such a struggle. It's not part of the plan of society.
And when we talk about like our professional life and careers, would you like maybe to give some examples of an appropriate behavior from maybe your music agencies or whatever you want, whatever you feel?
I mean, I have to choose.
Yes,
really.
I know.
So something you did mention before is how much I am commented about my looks, my appearance. It's something that does happen to men a bit because this superficial marketing is everywhere, and it happens to all of us, and we have an image which is very strongly based on how attractive we are.
Yes.
But it's just not comparable how much it happens with girls.
Absolutely.
So this happens a bit everywhere. It happens after concerts, definitely. That people comment on my dress, either before they comment about my playing, or they don't comment about my playing at all.
At all, just on your dress.
Just dress,
just
or
on your look.
whether, how beautiful it was. It happens on Music Critics. I have seen many friends of mine getting a review which mentioned basically that they had a beautiful skirt.
Seriously?
Yes.
Wow,
It
insane.
definitely becomes scary with social media. Through social media, or
Yes, unfortunately.
thanks to social media.
Yes.
I have a couple of YouTube videos which became quite popular, and because of the way YouTube works,
Yeah.
these videos are being suggested to completely random people who have nothing to do with classical music. Maybe they don't like classical music, so
Yeah.
of course they will not comment on how good or bad I play. I wish
Yes.
they said how bad I play. I appreciate comments talking about how bad I play, because most comments
She doesn't.
most comments talk about how pretty or ugly I am, and
Like completely ignoring the
and some of them even in an offensive
the
way.
playing part. Yes.
And it's just
Can I put some pictures of the comments here?
they are not
Yeah.
pleasant. But
I will do.
And other than YouTube, it's in a more personal basis. I also have many bad experiences. So the fact that normally, so I play solo, but I do a lot of chamber music too. And in general, whenever there is a man in my group next to me, just a male figure which can take responsibility for things, even when I have been doing the whole contact, I have been the contact person, I have arranged the whole thing with the organizer of the
Yeah.
concert. We get there and they only talk to my male colleagues,
Yes.
as if I have no power, no decision making power at all. And this happens pretty much a little bit all the time. I will definitely not give names, but this is just so general. It's just everywhere. One time I was getting a contract. I mean, it was not an actual contract to sign, but it was a very official email. You know how emails are a very official document already. So
Yes.
this email contained all the information about a performance I was going to make with orchestra. I won't say which orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
The email contained all the different information of like how much I would get paid, when rehearsals were, how many concerts, blah blah. And another paragraph was they wanted me to wear a specific dress that they know through my videos actually, and I did not know what to do. This is a very complicated situation because for me
absolutely
it is an important chance. So
of
it
course,
was an important job
for anybody.
and
really.
I know that in a position of inferiority, as I am when I am being hired, especially as a woman, especially as a young pianist, speaking up in this situation is much harder than just talking about it now with you, who you agree with me.
Yes.
It's very hard because I knew it would create it. I would risk my contract. I mean, they would get upset. They might get upset, and I would lose the job. And on the other hand, it was not acceptable for me that someone is telling me what to wear. This would never happen to a man. And
especially like a specific dress. I mean, they can comment like being appropriate clothes, which sometimes you get, right? Like,
dressing code. Yeah. No, absolutely not that. They mentioned which dress, the dress you wore that day in that video.
Yeah.
I guess because this video became popular, so then they want
exactly
the same
to
effect.
repeat the success.
What I do on stage apparently doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, they think it's not enough. Like it also
or
has to
not
be
important.
a dress of part.
So this is
a part of success. Yeah.
One time I'm quite proud of what I answered. I answered like I will wear whatever I believe is appropriate, and I didn't wear this dress, of course.
I can imagine that there would be so many, like maybe younger or less experienced girls who would think this performance is gonna like change my career, my life, whatever. And
I cannot lose it.
Yes, I cannot lose it. Like I'm scared to, like just say a word or maybe just even ask like, can we cut this paragraph from the contract because I don't think it's appropriated. Like even like discuss, like maybe they would say, know,
Yeah.
and then you still can decide, but they would maybe even like scared to ask. There was this story some months ago that many women, at least how they say it here, more than 20, accused opera star Placido Domingo of sexual harassment or inappropriate behavior. And in an interview, he reacted to that, that gallant gestures are viewed differently nowadays. What do you think about that? Like, I mean, it was obviously like 30 to 40 years ago.
Yeah, but first of all, I think this is not something specific that happened at some point in his life. This is just a pattern. This is a way of acting, a way of relating to women that for sure he keeps doing, and he was doing from before. You know, what makes it a scandal. I mean, it is already a scandal, but what makes all these women come and speak up, unfortunately, a lot later, is the fact that he was a very, very powerful man, and
he still is.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
even after the scandal.
He was, as you said, opera star.
Yes.
And an opera star showing sexual intentions with you is a much bigger pressure than someone else showing sexual intentions, because this can potentially lead to some kind of work relation as well. Unfortunately, in our world, they are extremely connected. And for me, what's crazy about this news is that it's not an exception. This is just a way many men act, and it's a completely normal thing to do, unfortunately. And of course, this man took it very far and used his power as much as he wanted. And now women are realizing that didn't change. So these gestures were very wrong already then. But what women are now realizing is that maybe there is a room to speak up more, and that's what I'm very glad. That women dare to talk about it. That's the only thing that changed Placido.
So do you know like any examples in your life?
Yeah, but no need to mention.
Yes,
definitely.
Yes.
And my colleagues' lives.
Yes. And then like some years ago, I remember I read this interview with a very famous and powerful and actually an amazing Russian conductor, Yuri Temirkanov. And I will link down below the translation of this interview. I checked the translation, it's proper, like comparing to the Russian original, and I would just like to read it now, like some short parts, and of course there will be a picture for you on the screen. So an interviewer is asking him, in your opinion, could a woman conduct? He's answering, in my view, no. Why not? I don't know if it's God's will or nature's that women give birth and men do not. That's something that no one takes offense at. But if you say that a woman can't conduct, then everyone's offended. As Marx said in response to the question, what's your favorite virtue in a woman? Weakness. And this is correct. The important thing, a woman should be beautiful, likable, attractive. Musicians will look at her and be distracted from the music. And then an interviewer is asking, and what is it in the conductor's profession that runs counter to a woman's nature, that's counter to the essence of the conductor's profession? He's answering, the essence of the conductor's profession is strength. The essence of a woman is weakness. What do you think about this? Like, I found it just ridiculous, like somebody that powerful and that important in the classical music world, in Russia and maybe even in the world, saying something like this so openly.
I mean, it is ridiculous, and I think just it's enough reading it out loud.
Yes.
I kind of find the Placido Domingo example a bit more useful, because this sounds a bit so extreme, you know. Sounds extreme to most people, at least in my environment, at least in Europe. And when you talk about cases like this, many times men and women's reaction is like, well, I would never say that, you know? That sounds very far from the way we think, so people feel fine about the relationship with gender equality. And for me, Placido Domingo's example is so much a common thing to happen a little bit all the time that I found it more useful to talk about. But actually, you were talking before about your education in Russia. This happened in Russia, and it's also true that it's not so extreme. Actually, this lives is like an underlying thought in everyone's mentality, and you have been told so many times in one way or another that women are weak, that women cannot conduct. That even though you grow up to disagree with that, a big part of yourself really thinks so. This is very deep in our understanding of how women work. So it is just an explanation, or a very explicit way of talking about it. It's horrible.
Yeah, and I should say, you know, like women conductors is a very special topic. You know, like it's very much discussed these days, and in many countries they have a lot of initiatives like that there should be more women conductors in general. But I should say in Russia we do not have any women conductor. I don't know any example these days, and if there are, it's definitely not in Russia. Like it's probably Russian, like I personally don't know any, but even if it is, it's like a Russian woman who studied somewhere abroad, and she will never be accepted in Russia, I guess, like as in any patriarchal countries.
All countries are patriarchal, so
more or less. Yeah. And there is one more small micro topic that I would like to discuss, and it's music competitions and of course piano competitions in particular. What do you think is a percentage of women getting prizes in piano competitions? Can you guess? What do you think?
What did you ask me? I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay, so I will show you like these statistics I found on some website. You can just check.
What, I read out loud?
No, you don't need to read out loud because there will be a picture on the screen. But this is prize winners, and this is first prize winners. Arthur Rubinstein is like the best in the...
Oh wow! I'm not surprised. It's just...
You're not surprised. Like I was not surprised,
I mean,
but
yes,
still.
sorry. I am surprised. Of course, it's quite extreme.
It's extreme, isn't it? It's like very extreme. I think one of the reasons why women are so unsuccessful in piano competitions is that, you know, there is also like this picture of a woman who wants to get kids, obviously, one day, like let's say more or less around 30. And what I think is that, especially when it comes to like very big competitions where you have a lot of obligations after if you get a prize and many contracts, I think that music agencies are kind of scared that you know, like want to have a family and kids and you won't be so much supported by your family and maybe your partner, and you will stop one day, you know, like and it's much easier for them to take a man as a prize winner and, you know, like to let him play all those concerts and be sure that he will do that, you know?
As if men didn't have children and didn't have to take care of children.
Yes, exactly, but like we know how it's usually, right?
Yeah, that's probably a very good reason. It's a bit scary to believe, but yeah.
Yes. Can I ask you, like, if you think about role models, do you have any in the world of classical music, or maybe like somewhere outside of it even?
Yes, so outside for sure, my mom.
Okay.
No question. She's a very strong woman. She's a feminist, and she is all the time somewhere in my mind. You know, her voice is all the time somewhere in my mind when I wonder in these difficult situations how to behave. But my mom is not a musician at all, so this is a funny question, that do I have role models in classical music? I definitely know many women who have fought a lot or basically ignored a lot of this patriarchal system in order to get very far in music world, and of course I can name people, but Marta Argerich came up before, and I don't know, regardless of their playing, I'm talking about an attitude,
Yeah.
because my playing is for sure completely different to everyone I might name now, but Patricia Kopachinskaya.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great example of someone,
Yeah, absolutely, that's true.
someone at least independent. So someone who does. I want to think she does whatever she wants, even though that's very difficult in music life, especially as a woman. You never really do only what you want. But I really think she fights for that, and I definitely want to continue to follow a very similar path. So to do things that I like to do, but it's not so easy actually.
Yeah. And I should say, like, when I thought about if I have any role models in the world of classical music, I will be like very honest with you. I definitely have a lot of women performers like on my mind who inspire me a lot, but I don't see any women who do and speak up something like on more social and maybe even like political level. And I would like to see more women doing something, you know, like doing projects and organizing things that, for example, can support like young women and maybe be a role model for them. So I mean, we have of course a lot of incredible musicians, women, but I just don't see anybody who does something besides of that. Right now you are a guest professor in Weimar Music University in the Hochschule. Can you maybe tell a little bit about the program you are taking part in?
It's a scholarship given by Thüringen, the state where Weimar is. And they have this big program, including I think many different activities, to promote women in general. So my scholarship aims to promote women professorships in the future. It's given to women who want to become professors one day, because it's obvious, I don't know the exact number, but it's clear that there
it's very clear.
Not many female professors in Hochschulen in Germany, Switzerland, where I live, and definitely Spain. A lot less than men. And this scholarship is there to give me a year of experience, so I can do this job and in the future go with this year experience to whatever professorship I apply for. I cannot think of better ways to use public money, actually.
Yes,
to
absolutely.
To qualify, it's called for further qualifying women, and I believe, I consider myself extremely lucky that I'm having this, but I wish this wasn't so rare, that there were many
I've
chances.
Never heard about anything like that.
That there are not.
Besides of Weimar, and it's a very new program. It's like since
I think it's second time.
2 years maybe or something.
So yeah, I'm having the chance to do a job which also would have been difficult to do for a woman in such a young age, because of showing authority is not so easy, and they are giving me the perfect room to be respected by students, which has been great so far. So I'm extremely happy about it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So basically we discussed a lot of topics in this video, and maybe just like to end it for the conclusion, what do you think can be done to improve this situation, which is obviously not very positive, I think, still at the moment?
I think we started saying how things changed a lot
between
the 20th century and now.
And then we gave so many like bad examples.
Clearly it didn't change to that much, or it only changed superficially. I think politics can help a lot.
Yes,
a lot more than they're doing it actually, and we need all these programs, like I mentioned, my Turing scholarships. I do personally, I support these women-only professorships as well. I think these kind of things are very important to create role models. It's very important that we have someone to imitate. Things are much more difficult to do when you're the very first one ever doing it. That's never the case, but that's sometimes how we feel, that I have to make up the rules of this new world I want to create, where patriarchy is not the system. Giving visibility to women, to strong women, to empowered women, is very important, and definitely not changing our attitude towards women only in the professional context, because this comes from a very social from our social background, and we should change our view of women as a weak or naturally weaker gender.
Yes. And what would you advise to young girls who want to make a career in this profession?
I think they should stop focusing and not let people focus about the fact that they are girls.
Yes.
I think, first of all, being a girl is wonderful, and let's just stop this whole negative meaning to it, and these huge differences that I really struggle to see. I disagree with this whole division, so that's my advice.
Yes, and I just wanted to say I was talking lately to a friend of mine who is a girl conductor, and she told me that it's like kind of hype these days to be a woman conductor, and though she is the only one girl in her class in a music university among 20 plus men, and she told me a very good thing. Like, Anna, if you are listening to this, thank you for the comment. She told that she doesn't want to belong to the world where to be a woman conductor is a hype. She wants to belong to the world where it's normal to be a woman conductor or a woman in any other profession. So
I like this word.
yes, it was very good. So maybe it's a good point to end the video, and thank you very much for coming again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye, guys.
So, I speak natural and sit natural, right?
It's gonna be fun, right?
Fun!
And you can also
You're
like
gonna do bloopers?
look to me. Yeah. Today I have a very special guest, a friend of mine, Rosalía Gómez.